Hello and welcome back to JBCTR, where today you join me for part 4 of my first car wrap. Now, the reason why part 4 is quite important is because I wanted this to be a 3-part series. So yeah, we're not doing too well there. The reason for that is because this whole job of wrapping an entire car, documenting the process, is quite large. It's quite a big job. So I've decided on this episode, because you've kind of seen me doing all the wrapping and you've kind of got the gist, if I'm honest, it's just a case of doing it for the rest of the car. I plan to get it finished in this video, which will entail a mother of all montages. So yeah, we're going to crack on, get it finished, and then we can do the big reveal, and I can also talk to you through all the lessons that I've learned as a result of doing this. So without further ado, let's crack on with the massive montage, and I'll speak to you when it's done. Right, I know I said I wasn't going to talk to you, but I can't help myself, clearly. So this panel has just been laid, as you can see, and it's one hell of an achievement for me. This is like my 3rd or 4th attempt on this panel, and I've lost loads of sleep over it, and if I'm honest, it is actually making me feel a little bit down about the whole car. So the fact that it's laid is a big milestone for me. But the reason why I've stopped to talk to you is because it demonstrates what heat does quite nicely. So you would have seen in the montage that I used heat in order to get it around these corners. And although this is kind of a normal looking spoiler, I guess, the way it contours is actually quite complex in order to get a flat sheet of wraparound. Now, the reason why it's interesting is because I noticed this. So up here you can see that my sheet of wrap is kind of, well, it's pretty much rectangular in its perfect rectangular shape at sort of this angle. And because I've applied heat, I've essentially managed to push the spoiler through that flat sheet here, which then allows it to perfectly mould itself through the spoiler, and you get a really flat wrap. And it's like, wow, that's really blooming hard. But to see it quite so obviously like poking through a flat sheet is quite cool. But yeah, so anyway, super happy with that. Let's get on with the montage.
Lately nothing's coming my way. Keep drowning every bit of my devotion, sinking deeper every day. And lately I am missing my reflection, and every muddy puddle on the pavement, driving every thought into distortion.
Today's another day.
But I will get up, work even harder. My mama used to say that it's the way it goes. Feelings gonna make me smarter, and to realize that the river always ends up in its motion. Leave every obstacle behind. I promise it could happen any day now. And soon enough I'll also see the light. Get a little glimpse of my emotions. Yeah, I will get it, work even harder. My mama used to say that it's the way it goes. Feeling's gonna make me smarter.
Finally, we are done. The full car is wrapped, everything is done. My first ever car wrap is complete. So before I do anything else with driving it and that kind of stuff, I'm gonna give it a quick wash, get rid of all the fingerprints. I've also got some spray-on protectant stuff, which I'll use on it just because it's easy. Then we can talk about the lessons learned, which I think is probably going to be the most interesting part for you guys watching this. So yeah, let's get out of the garage, wash it, and then let's have a chat. So that is the car now washed. I didn't bother with snow foam because it wasn't really dirty, it was just to get rid of fingerprints and stuff. So just a quick soap wash, as you saw, and it's beading quite nicely on the fresh vinyl, but I wanted to add another layer of protection but didn't want to spend too much time. So I'm using Gion's Q2M wet coat, which is simply spray on, spray off. Do it by panel, and it's really easy. Lasts about a couple of weeks, and that'll do for this little shopping car. Well, it's actually been about 4 or 5 months since I finished wrapping this car, which gives us an opportunity to see just how good a job I did, because we've gone through the end of summer, we're now kind of in winter-ish, although it's not that cold. So all the wrap would have shrunk where it was going to shrink and all that kind of stuff. And I'm glad to report I haven't actually seen anywhere on the car where the wrap has pulled back and exposed the white, which is pretty good, I think, for a first attempt. But the reason of me sort of filming this outro bit was mainly to give you guys a little bit of an insight into the lessons I learned, of which there were quite a few. Now, the first thing I wanted to raise was the amount of wastage. Now, when I finished this, I had so much left over, it was unreal. But all of it was kind of unusable. And the reason for that is because I wrapped each of the panels individually. And when you do that, you need enough to go around the edges. You can, if you're going to sort of cheapskate it, you can use one sheet and do the whole side in one, and then just sort of cut down the lines and then fold it over. But when I looked at it, the body gaps are not that wide, which means you don't then get that much material to wrap around the edge. So that's why I did it the way I did, but as a result, it's probably ended up being quite expensive. So next up is actually things I really wish I'd bought to do the job. First up is a wrap glove, which I think is like a sort of slippy kind of nylon-y type glove, and essentially it allows you to run your finger down the wrap and smush it into places. Now I just used my fingers, as you saw, and the issue we got is all the skin on the end of my hands all wore out. So yeah, not very pleasant. So I would definitely recommend getting a wrap glove. The other piece of equipment which I really wish I had was like a standalone light, Because when you're staring at an edge for so long, this is going to sound really weird, the edge actually starts to play sort of like mind tricks on you, and you can't actually see where you're trying to wrap. Really hard to explain, but get a light. And probably my biggest tip for wrapping anything really is, if you can remove it, definitely remove it, because I think it was the indicators I tried to wrap around it. It just doesn't work. If you can remove stuff, take it off, wrap underneath it, put it back. It's a little bit more effort, but the finish is just so much better. It's 100% worth doing. And there we have it, my first ever car wrap. Now, you probably would have picked up the fact that I didn't find this easy. It isn't easy, but I kind of hope that you've picked up a few tips and hints and stuff if you are looking to have a go at wrapping anything, because it is really satisfying. I mean, this used to be a white car and it spent a few days, hours-ish in my garage, and now it's a blue car. I mean, that's pretty cool. So yeah, for something you can do at home, I think it's epic. Give it a go. And yeah, with that, I think we'll leave it there. So if you enjoyed this little series, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, cars and that kind of stuff, then subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
There goes a sight from my soul.